Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how have you been?
I've been okay. I've been hot. Not in the literal sense. I mean, in the literal sense, not in the physical looking sense. Although today, I feel like I look spectacular.
You look fantastic.
We look very nice today. For those of you who are not watching us, we look killer. But I've been okay. So we talked Wednesday, and then it's just been kind of a weird week. I just keep doing weird stuff. Like on Thursday, I was supposed to go to work, and then at 2:00, my boss texted me and she was like, "Hey, do you want to not come in today? Because there's no customers." And I was like, "Absolutely." I was like, I told her, I was like, if I'm going to make less than $100, do not bring me to work. There's no point me being there.
Right.
And I told both of my managers that. And I told somebody the other day, they were like, "Oh, but you didn't say that to her." I was like, "No, I said it to both of my managers." And they were like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "No, I'm very serious about that. I'm not working 60 hours a week to not make money." So anyways, I decided to walk home that day, which I love doing on a day that doesn't feel like 1,000 degrees. And I always just walk by Bryant Park and see what's the haps. And it turns out they were doing bingo in the park for the last day. So I was like, guess who's doing bingo? Did not win. Did make a new friend. And their name is James. They live here sometimes. They may listen one day. Hi, if you're listening. But yeah, it was super fun. We hung out, played bingo for an hour, and then I just walked home and got some ice cream. And I was like, this is an excellent day. And then Friday I was back at it, but we had a half day on Friday, so I had this delicious mussels and herb fries lunch with Nora, because we got off at 12. It's just been a weirdly mostly good, but also excruciatingly hot week.
Fair.
Because my apartment doesn't know how to have AC. So
my house does not have AC either. So there's that. My brother got to town super late Wednesday night. So Thursday I spent most of the day with him. I did have a work meeting on Thursday though. And not to say that it went badly, and it didn't. It went pretty well. I'm glad I'm going to be doing this camp, and I love the people I'm doing my summer work with. But the meeting must not have been very memorable, because on Saturday when someone asked me what I did this week, I literally couldn't remember Thursday. I literally go, I'm going to have to pause everything because I cannot remember a single thing about Thursday.
I get that way a lot of days. That is very constant in my life, which is a real bummer.
Yeah. But then Friday was Canada Day.
Saw that, yeah.
Which might not mean anything to most of our listeners. But as someone who has been told many times that I'm basically half Canadian by my Canadian friends, I obviously had to celebrate.
Right.
And I did by having my best Canadian friend come and stay at my house from Canada. I have not seen him in literally 4 years. Mm-hmm. And we watched Come From Away bootlegged on YouTube.
So good. Did you cry 17 times?
No.
I cried so much when I went and saw it. Literally, I just sobbed.
I'm sure in person I would sob, and it was really beautiful, but it's hard when you're watching a bootleg to feel connected.
Yeah.
Plus,
we were orchestra, fifth row in, and I just cried the last 30 minutes of it.
But it was a bootleg of the original cast. So Jen Colella.
Yeah. I know how you feel about her.
But yeah, and then we also watched this musical on Disney Plus that I don't know if you have heard anything about yet. It's called Trevor, a new musical.
I have. Yeah, it was here in the city. I haven't watched it. I think it's depressing. Is that right?
A little.
Yeah, I just want to watch it.
It has a happy ending.
Well, tell me how it ends, because I
will.
No,
but I mean, it is a little depressing. But I will say, it's also not great.
They just kept saying, "Trevor, a new musical off Broadway."
Yeah.
Saw that everywhere while it was in the city.
And the thing about it is, it's not that it's bad. There are a couple songs that are actually genuinely really good songs. But it's about middle schoolers, which means that it's really not great if you're not a middle schooler.
Oh, fair. I'm not terribly upset I didn't go see it then.
Yeah. No, it was fine.
I did not know they put it on Disney Plus.
It is on Disney Plus if you ever feel inclined to watch it.
Bottom of my list, so
yeah.
near 2095. If I'm still alive, I'll watch it.
But yeah. Also, if you are watching this, I apologize ahead of time. My computer is being incredibly laggy with video, and I have no idea if when recorded, it will still be doing that. So this might be a rough visual podcast.
I will say it's not doing it. It did it the first like 2 minutes we were on, and then it hasn't done it since. So
okay, because on my end, it's still doing it a lot, and my end is the one recording it. So we'll see.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So I apologize in advance, and if it isn't laggy, then like fantastic, and you get an apology for nothing.
Yes, and also MK is wearing clothes.
Oh yeah, sorry.
See, they're there.
Speaking of being naked, how can we be spiritual?
I didn't know where we were going with this.
I just feel like spiritual is like our naked selves.
Yes, that is correct. It tracks when you think about it, but at first I was very nervous because my clothes are also not very well done, and I was like, did I fall somewhere and not realize it? I didn't know what was happening.
No, you're perfectly clothed on camera.
Thank you. Excellent. So I try to be. So this one is directly for you. I did not pick it directly for you. It just happened to be the one that got pulled.
Oh boy.
Stay away from people who make you feel like you're hard to love. I think these cards are like for you, and I'm just here to tell you what you need to hear.
I think that has basically been true every single week.
So,
for those of you who don't know, which is probably everyone who listens to this podcast, the boy that I was really excited about talking about on the podcast like 3 weeks ago, that is not a thing anymore.
Yeah. And also for those of you who don't know, I don't pick these out ahead of time. I just back and then I just grab one. And I'm like, this is the one today. And so you're meant to be.
Good. Fantastic. You know what else was meant to be? Stargate.
Tell me. Yes.
Sci-Fi Sunday.
Hello.
Also, I realized while prepping for this episode that actually the first season of Stargate does only have 21 episodes. So we're much closer to the end than I thought we were.
Oh my goodness, we are. We're going to end our seasons at the same time.
Oh, are we? I don't know how to do math. Okay, I don't know how to do math.
We did 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and we did 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 6,
Yeah,
7, 8, 9, 10. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we are.
Oh, how nice.
I don't know how to do math.
That's okay. That's all right. We're not a math podcast. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. But so this episode is called it's Stargate Season 1, Episode 17. It's called Solitudes. It was rated 8.1 stars. I think that
I'm what's the word? Conflicted. I'm conflicted about that.
I would say that the rating has more to do with the setup of lore than it does of the actual content of the episode, if that makes sense.
I think that's true, but I also think that like while the episode felt a little, I guess, emptier because it moved a little slower, didn't have as much happening, it felt like a very, very like big deal still, like watching
yes.
it, you know? So like I still felt even though, like, I mean, there's 10 seasons, I know that they didn't die, like, obviously, but that whole
It
time it's like so emotional still. It's like,
it did feel like the closest we actually felt to maybe losing someone. And to be fair, obviously, like we know now because it's 25 years after the show was on.
survive the times.
A little, but the thing is, the show, Richard Dean Anderson wasn't like was the big name draw in for the show, so it wouldn't have been unreasonable for him to have died and the show kept going without him, even though we know like and that wouldn't have felt right, and Jack is such a big part of it. Him being like we're gonna get this big actor to get in there to set up the show to draw people in, and then we're gonna kill him because he's not actually necessary for the story is not unheard of.
Right. Yes.
It did come out on
But it's not unheard of.
It came out on February 6th, 1998. The number one song was Together Again by Janet Jackson, which I have never heard.
I used to like Janet Jackson quite a lot. I mean, I still like her just fine. I just, she's not as relevant, unfortunately, for her.
Yeah. The number one movie, still Titanic.
Big shot.
Zero surprise there. On this day, there was not a lot of really interesting things, but a random fact that is really only interesting because my mom used to work there. The Washington airport was renamed the Ronald Reagan National Airport on that day.
Excellent news.
Fantastic. Yeah. There was literally nothing.
I understand.
This episode was directed by Martin Wood. This is his first episode, but this is first of 47.
All right. Well, we better buckle up then.
He's a big one. Like to the point where I said something to my dad during the episode about something that I didn't think made sense. And I go, but this is Martin Wood's first episode. So like, basically we're already there. And he goes, nope, that makes sense. He also directed 29 episodes of Stargate Atlantis, and he directed 7 of the 8 episodes of the original Sanctuary, and then 27 of the remake of Sanctuary. So like that's his like sci-fi stuff. But now, and this is an interesting turn of events, he mostly works with Hallmark. He has directed 3 episodes of The Good Witch. He directed 8 episodes of Aurora Tea Garden Mysteries.
To be fair, these are very like mystery-based shows. They're like a little
but
more off the norm.
He also and he directed 12 episodes of Virgin River. Mm-hmm. But then he directed a bunch of Hallmark Christmas movies, including one. He directed Operation Dumbo Drop, which was good. And then he directed one of last year's new movies called A Christmas Proposal, which was one of the ones that we made my dad watch when we were forcing him to watch Christmas Hallmark movies with us this year.
I think I watched that one.
It was the one with the guy from CSI Miami.
I don't think I watched that one. Now that you're done, I don't think I watched that one. But I'm sure I've seen some of his work if he's directed Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah. So that's Martin Wood, but he'll be with us for a while.
Excellent.
It was written by Brad Wright, who is one of our big 4. So there was not technically a guest star in this episode, but I would like to give a shout out to someone who has been in every single episode so far that we have not talked about. And that is Gary Jones, who plays Sergeant Walter Harriman, because this is the first episode that he like really did anything other than shout Chevron 1, Chevron 2, Chevron 3. Gary Jones plays Sergeant Walter Harriman, who is in 150 episodes or 115 episodes of this show. and has been in all of the reboot, like all of the Stargate series. He was in Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe. Other than this, he was in one episode of Dead Like Me, so we have already seen him.
Ah, which one?
Reaping Havoc.
What happened in that one?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I do not remember which episode that was, but he was in it. His name was Chuck. He also doesn't really have a lot of credits, but he has.
What did he have time to do? He's done all Stargate episodes.
He did play 3 different Disney Channel movie principals, which I find to be like when you're stereotypically cast as the Disney awkward principal, that is a genre in and of itself. Including the fact that he played the principal in the Freaky Friday Disney Channel original movie that was based off the musical that was based off the movie.
So, not Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan.
No.
Just came out like 5 or 10 years ago or something.
2018, so 6 years ago. No,
very close.
4 years ago.
Okay, I was not.
Yes,
but it feels like it was that long ago.
Yeah.
This is the one where we figure out how Betty died.
Oh, yes.
It's a very long time. It was a very good one, though.
Yeah. I knew it was early because I couldn't remember it.
Yeah, I never remember anything, so
So the blurb of this episode is actually pretty well done this time.
Okay.
A Stargate malfunction leaves O'Neill and Carter stranded in an icy crevice on an unknown planet. That's it.
I mean, that is the entire episode. So
yeah,
they did great job.
Great job, because they didn't spoil anything. But
right.
Yeah. And so we start the episode in SG base with an off-world activation, and the code is coming from SG-1, but no one's supposed to be coming in, and everything's going crazy. Something goes wrong with the Stargate. There's electricity, shit is going bad, and the Stargate yeets Daniel and Teal'c out onto the ramp and then blows up.
Yeah, it just spit him right out, and it kept Sam and Jack.
And of course, because Teal'c has the immune system of a god, he just gets up.
Right, he just stands up. He's like, everything's fine.
And they're like, where's Jack and Sam? And he's like, they were right behind me. Well, then you turn around and look at the blowed up Stargate, and they're not now. Then we do get a flash to Jack and Sam, who are somewhere surrounded by ice. And that's all we get. And then the credits.
Yes.
So yeah, things are looking great.
I was shocked that the Stargate could send them to different places, even if they put in a destination, which vaguely makes sense by the end, but still, everything has its own coordinates still, even if it's different locations, right? I'll ask later.
Yeah, we will get there. We will get there because we learn a lot in this episode. It's not the most exciting episode in terms of plot, but in terms of exposition, it's kind of a huge episode.
Yeah.
Which is, again, why I think it was rated as high as it was, even though it's not necessarily the best episode.
Right.
So after the credits, we go to the med bay, and Daniel is unconscious, and Teal'c is filling Hammond in on everything that happened. They were being attacked by Goa'uld, and there was some kind of energy weapon, and but there was no reason why Jack and Sam would not have made it through the gate. Teal'c is very, very, very upset and confused.
Because he kept saying they were 2 meters behind them, which is 6 feet. Is that right?
Yeah, no, 3 meters is 6 feet. So
So not even then, like 4.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no way. So then the gate needed to be repaired. We find out that the gate was kaput and it needed to be repaired, but no one really understands why. No one can figure out what happened, but something went wrong. There was a kaboom. Then we go to the other half of the team in the ice, and Jack's leg is broken, and they have no idea where they are or why they're alone.
I wish that they would have been sent to like the land of light or to the Nox, like someone that could have helped them, and also they wouldn't have immediately died from the surroundings.
So you wish that the entire plot of this episode didn't exist?
Well, no, by the end of it was fine, but like at the point, I was like, why did they get sent to some ice planet? Why were they not sent to like at least somewhere they'd already been? Like, you know, like maybe it recalculated and was like, oh, we can't send you home, but we'll send you somewhere we've already sent you before, you know, like.
Right.
And I was like,
the stakes would not have been very high had they done that.
Absolutely not. No, there would be no stakes because they would have been perfectly fine. They would have just found them later. Like,
right. They also can't find the DHD, and so they realize they're stranded. Now, this is the first time that they just call it the DHD with no explanation. They have earlier in the season said the dial home device.
Right.
But in the first time that they mentioned the dial home device, they don't then preface by saying DHD for short. So I was like, guys.
I struggled for a second. I was like, DHD, I was like, should I know what that is? And then when they talked about it, I was like, oh, this is the thing that they call home with. I was like, I got it
yes.
now.
No, they do.
It'd take me a second.
They do preface it later in the episode, but I was like, that's poor timing. Should have said that the first time. But I literally, sometimes I make notes of things that I just go, Courtney's not going to understand this.
Correct.
But yeah, no, I think from now on, they will just call it the DHD all of the time.
That's perfectly fine. I know what it is now.
Right.
I don't mind. They've called it home device a few times. Like I've heard that phrase a few times.
Yes. They've called it the dial home device a few times, but they've never then been like dial home device, DHD. Like,
right.
They just assumed that you could like come up with it on your own, which to be fair, like, I guess those are the letters, but like, we're not that.
Also, it's not like it's a normal thing. I'm gonna like be like,
right. It's not like an ATM where everybody's gonna know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not even like country specific. It's like, this is not a thing that exists in the real world, and you've now just made up an acronym for it. Like, I'm sure there are other things in other countries. Like, I would.
They do that a lot.
Yeah. And we should know it every time.
Like, in the last episode when they sent the UAD through, or the UVD, whatever the drone, and then they just started calling it by an acronym there, which will again be in the show a bunch after that, but like no explanation of these acronyms.
Was that not? I wonder if that acronym's been used in a different side.
That acronym is, I think, a normal military one.
I think I'd heard that one before.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think I had heard that one, so it didn't throw me off quite so much.
Right. But like, they will go so far as being like, here is the entire scientific like outline of how a phone line works, but you should just understand our space acronyms.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I don't.
I'm only slightly perturbed.
You know.
Someone is mowing their lawn near me, and it's very loud in my headphones, but I don't actually think the mic is picking it up.
I don't hear it. I just heard Sadie just made this weird, like, huffing noise, and it threw me off, so.
But I'm also just like, it's a holiday. Why are you mowing your lawn?
Holiday, it's hot.
So then we go back to Stargate base, and Teal'c and Hammond are in the base room looking around at the gate, and we find out that it is going to take at least 24 hours to repair the gate. And Hammond tries to be all like military big bad. He's like, I will give you half that time. And the project manager, the science, like he's like, that's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
Which I appreciated because like the number of times that people are like, I'm just going to cut corners and get things done faster, and scientists have to just like
do it,
figure it out. This guy's like, no.
You, I think you skipped the part where Daniel woke up, because I understand that's not that big of a deal, but like he woke up and Teal'c was like in his face. I was like, I could just imagine, like, you know how terrified I'd be if someone was like blank face in my face. Like, it doesn't matter if I know them; they can be my best friend. I would jump out of my skin if I woke up and someone was just there.
Yes, you're right. I did skip that because I did not find it interesting. There was nothing in the plot in it at all.
It just caught me off, and I went into my head about how terrified I would be and started laughing. And
yeah, that's absolutely fair.
So I thought it was funny.
So
there wasn't a lot of funny in this episode. So
no, there wasn't a lot of funny in this episode.
Without the things did bring me a little bit of levity.
Right. So then we go back to the ice planet, and Sam is setting Jack's leg to set the broken bone, which she has never done before. And this conversation was actually kind of funny to start, but then it like turned not funny. Right. But so he's, in order to like distract from the pain of her setting his bone, he's like telling her all these stories and everything about other times that he has been injured. And he tells a story about having a parachuting accident and a skull fracture and how he thought he was going to die, but he had to come home to save Sarah. And then he like says this whole grand speech about how he's going to make sure that Sam gets home. And, you know, it's like Jack's in love with Sam, but we're not allowed to say that. It's fine.
Right.
There was a lot of that this episode. And since I've made it clear since episode 1 that I'm obsessed with the idea of Jack and Sam, I leaned so far into that. Especially
regardless of how you felt in the beginning about them. Like, yeah, it was very in your face.
Yeah. Oh, and then Jack makes these adorable jokes about like putting in a fireplace and some windows and like building a home in their little ice cavern.
Yeah.
Oh no. Because this is when Daniel wakes up, because I do have a note.
Okay.
Because my note just says Teal'c tells Daniel that Jack and Sam are missing. Because I didn't find the scene as funny as you did. I just was like, let me not skip this scene.
Right. I understand.
But that was really short, and then we immediately go back to Jack and Sam. And Sam ends up finding the DHD, but it's buried under ice. And so they're trying to dig at it. And as Jack's like climbing up to the platform where the DHD is, he is in terrible, terrible amounts of pain. And we find out that he also probably cracked a rib. So he's like just like not doing well.
Another side note on the DHD, for the longest time until this episode, I thought it was like a remote control device. I didn't realize it was this big button remote into the ground. I always thought he had like a remote that he just like dialed into.
No, it's that weird platform with the circle that's outside every Stargate.
Yes, that makes sense.
In the base, they don't have one because they created their own computer system. Right. But everywhere.
At his home, so they don't need a dial home there.
Well, yeah, but they need to dial out.
Okay.
They still have to, like the Stargate, when they open the wormhole, it has to go somewhere.
Yes, true.
And so then while they're trying to dig out the DHD, Sam comes up with 3 possible explanations, 3 possible scenarios for how they got where they are. And I appreciated this. Before we talk about what her scenarios are, I appreciated it because none of them were outlandish. And one of them was true. Like a lot of times when they have like shows like this, they're like, these are the only 3 possible things that could have happened. And then what actually happened is none of those things.
And they're always like completely crazy or like things that shouldn't even make sense. Yeah,
but these are all like legitimate things that could have happened.
And also this goes off of how you normally talk about that. You're like, they always come to the point too quickly. They're like, they just figure it out. It's like, there's no way they can know that. And the way she did it for this time, she came up with 3 plausible like reasons and didn't know specifically which one it was. And it made sense that she got to that conclusion in the way she did.
Yeah.
Straight there, like they have in some past episodes.
Yeah, no. And just because, and it also was like, we've solved the premise, we have not found a solution yet. Like, just because I figured out how I am here, I still have no fucking idea how to get out.
Yes, exactly.
So the 3 possible scenarios is 1, Daniel did misdial the gate and Teal'c and Daniel are somewhere on the ice planet with them.
And Jack's like, I don't see them. And she's like, right.
Yeah. Option 2, they dialed correctly and they are back on Earth and the Stargate malfunction popped Jack and Sam somewhere else, but Teal'c and Daniel made it back to base.
Right.
And then 3, they dialed correctly, the malfunction still happened, Jack and Sam ended up where they are, and Daniel and Teal'c ended up God knows where.
Right.
Of those 3 scenarios, the second one is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, it's also the true one.
Right. Because if they both ended up in places that were unknown, that would not have been good because the team was not expecting them back either.
Right. So no one would have even been looking for them.
Yeah.
So the back at base, the team is sending a probe through the gate to see if Jack and Sam are back on the planet that they left, because they do not at this point know yet how or why the Stargate malfunctioned. They just assume that it means that they did not make it through the gate. And Teal'c's like, don't worry about the probe, just let me go back there. And General Hammond is like, that is not how this works.
He's like, not at all.
No. So they send the probe back in, and there is no sign of Jack and Sam, but the Goa'uld are still shooting at the Stargate. So that will be a big fat no to Teal'c's rescue mission.
Immediately die.
Yeah. We go back to Jack and Sam, who are like playing survival. They're not really, they're trying to survive, but they're like melting ice. And it's like all the things that you do when you are like in a survival movie. And Jack is in hella bad shape. Like, he is rapidly getting worse.
Not doing great.
And Sam explains how the Stargate malfunction happened. Now, she uses a bunch of science words, and Jack is all stupid and injured, so he doesn't understand anything she's saying. Did you understand what she was saying? So basically,
I kind of zoned out while she was saying it, because I was like, I don't know what's
which is why I just wrote a note that says that she explained it, so then I could actually explain it, because I knew, again, I know you well enough to know what things are going to be confusing. So basically, the Stargates work almost like a phone line or like an internet connection. So there's like an opening and a closing, and there's electricity that connects the two. And granted, it's a little more complicated than that because it's a wormhole and you're moving through like space, but there's a beginning and an end. But there is an electrical current that does this. So Sam assumes that something happened, like when a lightning bolt jumps mid-strike, which is rare, but it happens, where like it comes down from the sky, but then where it actually hits the ground is different. And so she was saying that while they were in the wormhole, this electrical spike happened, and it like basically jumped off of the track to a different opening. So like it would be like a mine car splitting onto a different track
Yeah.
and dropping you off into a different path, which is what happened.
Right.
Kind of, which we will get into at the end.
I want you to know
But
I'm picturing this as the Donkey Kong Jr. mine cart.
that's fine because I was picturing it as the tracks in the Mario Kart race where they're in Wario's gold mine, and like sometimes you can go on the split and go into the shortcut.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. We have connected this to Nintendo. I'm in.
I mean, that's
everything now.
Which reminds me of a really funny story. So just connecting things to Nintendo. My brother was playing Super Mario Galaxy, but like as Luigi, and like Luigi turned into a boo, and all the girl boos were like falling in love with Luigi. And I was like, I don't understand. Why are they all in love with Luigi? And my brother goes, because he has a mustache. And I was like, who falls in love with someone based entirely on their facial hair? And Tyler, my Canadian best friend, goes, you, and just started listing people that I've only had a crush on because of their facial hair. And I go, you know what? Okay, so like moving on, I guess Luigi's a hot ghost. Like, I don't know.
Probably. I would guess so.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun fact, if you have good facial hair, it automatically adds 2 points to your hot meter for me.
And the girl boos.
Yep. But so anyway, Sam is like, I really hope that the people at base are able to come up with the same conclusion on how this Stargate malfunction happened. And my next note says, thank God Daniel and Sam are on different teams this week.
Oh my gosh, yes. I thought the same thing. I was like, ugh.
I was telling my dad about our theory that the teams only split up based on what plot needs to get told. And I go, so obviously Sam and Daniel had to be on different teams because otherwise nothing would have happened.
Nothing.
But they're trying to figure out what happens. And Teal'c's like, well, scenario 1, they're dead.
Right.
And Daniel's like, I hope not. Now, I don't like Teal'c's feeling that they're dead. Not because it's not a possible scenario, but because in the episode where they were convinced Daniel was dead, they were all just so sure in their guts that he wasn't, that I was like, how do we all have this weird psychic link to Daniel being alive, but we can't tell that Jack and Sam are alive?
Well, that's because they knew that Daniel wasn't dead because it was their minds had been altered. Here, their minds weren't altered. They just had no idea where it went.
Fair.
So, like, they dug deep enough into their, what's the word?
Psyche?
Yeah, but what do you do when you make people think different things? There's an H. It's like a very easy
hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
Oh, I was like, you can't possibly be thinking of hypnosis. That's not a hard word.
Like, that's why it's an easy word. They break through the hypnosis. They can figure out the truth that's still inside of them.
Got it. Okay, fair.
Truth inside of them now.
Fair. So back on Ice Planet, they're still digging, and Sam finds a serpent guard frozen in the ice, which seemed completely unimportant for this episode. But when we find out the conclusion of this episode, it makes it a lot bigger of a deal.
Yeah, I figured that's going to go farther than it did this time because I was like, oh, that's going to be a big deal. And then nothing was not talked about again. I was like, okay, it's going to be a big deal.
It wasn't. But also, this is the first episode that kind of ended with a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And we will talk about the ramifications of the Serpent Guard when we finish the plot. Because this is the first time that, like, post-episode, there's actually a lot to talk about.
Right.
So then we go back to base, and Daniel and Teal'c are still talking, and Daniel's sure that whatever happened, they are hurt, which means that wherever they are, they're not going to be too far away from the gate. Because he is like, we were like ricocheted out of the gate. If the same velocity threw them and they weren't somewhere where doctors would immediately pick them up, probably not doing well. And he is correct. Although, to be fair, I still don't know how Sam was as unhurt as she was.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like, I mean, Daniel was only unconscious.
Maybe it's because they live on snow.
Maybe. Like, Daniel was only unconscious. He wasn't super bad hurt, but he was unconscious for like a much longer time than she was.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we also don't know how long she was unconscious for, because we saw it from when she woke up.
That's true. But based on the timelines, she couldn't have been unconscious for more than 2 hours.
No, definitely not more than like 2 hours. Like, I definitely think she woke up before Daniel did.
But Daniel didn't even wake up till after Jack did.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't know.
Maybe it was the cold. I don't know.
Maybe. No, that's fair. Back on Ice Planet, they finally get the DHD uncovered from the ice, and Sam's getting ready to engage it, and Jack starts coughing up blood. So like he's just rapidly declining.
No, not good. Yeah.
And there is not enough power to engage the DHD, the gate. It's not working. And so Jack is like trying really hard to convince Sam that everything's going to be okay, and he's being really sweet. And she's like, okay, I believe you. But like shit looks real fucking bleak at this point. Like if this were February of 1998, 0% of me would have been sure that they were surviving. No, I would
have assumed one of them was going to die.
Absolutely. So then we go back to base, and Hammond tells Daniel that he has formally reported them as MIA. Now, I went on a spiral of what it actually means to report someone missing in action. Mm-hmm. And the problem I saw was that I don't know why he did it as quickly as he did, because neither of them have families.
True.
Like, if you have a family and people don't know where you are, like, the missing in action is, like, the best thing to closure that you can possibly get. And when you report someone as MIA, you don't stop looking for them.
Right.
So I don't know what the point of the like formal report of it was that quickly.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I couldn't find anything other than like letting people's families know that they might not be coming back.
So it doesn't like put more people on the search or anything, like they're formally missing now, and so now
yeah.
It wasn't any of that you could see?
No.
Okay, because that's the only other thing I could have thought of too. And I was like, I don't really know why he did it.
No, because like when people go MIA, if it's still in like active war zone, they can't just send more people out. Like that's not how that works. And like if they're like if Jack had come back and reported Sam MIA to General Hammond, it would mean that they could then get higher forces to go looking for her. But because Hammond's already a general, I don't necessarily know who he had to report that to other than the government, and they don't give a fuck what the government's doing most of the time on the show anyway. So that scene was really just a scene to make Daniel sad, I guess.
Probably. That sounds right.
Go back to the ice cave for a very brief scene where Jack and Sam are cuddling for warmth. And it does nothing for the plot except for add to the Jack and Sam fanfic writers out there. Then We go back to base where we also have a quick scene that shows that they are not finding anything in all of their planets that they have searched.
And I don't think Daniel's ever going to sleep again.
No, probably not. We go back to ice, and Sam is like flipping out about the DHD and trying to get it to work. And and Jack is definitely dying at this point. Like at this point, he is on death's doorstep. My next note is unimportant to the plot because I just wrote, if Sam would just kiss him before he dies, that'd be great. Which has nothing to do with the plot, just my own desires. But Jack,
knowing he's not going to die now, like obviously they couldn't do it this
right. Jack tells her that plan B is for her to take the supplies and just get out of there without him. And she's like, sure. She has no intention of doing that.
Right.
So then we go back to the base. The SG rescue team has come back from the last planet on Daniel's short list of places that it could be based on what was between the two gates. And they are not on any of them. And so Hammond is, and somebody got really hurt on the last planet. So Hammond's like, we're done. We're done. This is over. We're not going to find them. They're gone. Like, I don't know what else to do. Which, of course, Daniel's like freaking out. He's like, I must be missing something. Like I fucked up. I had to have fucked up. Like they can't just be gone.
Yeah.
Which, like, thank God Daniel feels that way, because I probably would have been like, wow, they're dead. And then like went and cried for like 8 hours.
Right.
But Daniel was like, nope, they're somewhere. We go back to the ice thing where Sam resets the DHD and like boots up the power and then calls out, and it almost works, but something interferes with it. And there's like all this weird seismic activity and like things are shaking. And I thought there was going to be like a cave collapse and they were just going to die. But while this is happening, the gate at the base starts shaking too. And Daniel's like, what? What?
This was big.
So Daniel was like, I know what I missed. Which is great because he doesn't tell us.
Right.
Then we go back to Jack and Sam, and Jack tells Sam to leave because he's like, you can't watch me die. So leave. And she finally listens.
For about 5 seconds.
Well, yeah. She is determined that she's going to rescue him because she's in love with him. She just doesn't know she's in love with him. It's fine. Then we go back to the base where Daniel has figured out the secret. And the secret is that if they're using the gate to dial Earth, and you can't dial your own phone number, so they must be somewhere on Earth. And they're like, Teal'c, is that like reasonable? Would the Goa'uld have put multiple gates on one planet? And he's like, yeah, I don't see why not. Like,
lost one, sure, they put it
on. But also, we also know that the Goa'uld didn't create the gates, which means the Goa'uld might not have even been the ones to put them there. So, Hammond is like, where is the gate? And I was like, Norway, duh. Thor, get it? It all makes sense. And my dad just goes, no. And I looked at him. He was like, it's in Antarctica. And I was like, Dad, we're not there yet. And he goes, pretty sure
Your
we
guess
are.
did make sense, though.
Yeah, my guess made perfect sense based on what has happened in the show so far. Obviously, again, because I know spoilers, I knew there was a gate in Antarctica. I knew we were going to go to Antarctica eventually. I just was like, but that doesn't logically make sense yet. And then I go, ooh, but this is Martin Wood's first episode. And he goes, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So yes, the gate is in Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously the ice cavern and being trapped in freezing fucking ice screams Antarctica, but I really wanted it to make more sense.
Yes, I understand that.
It will make more sense
Not
later, just not today. And so Hammond's like, okay, look across the planet for transmissions that are on SG's radio frequency. Now, here's the thing. Searching the entire planet for a specific radio frequency is a little ridiculous. So Daniel goes, hold on. Let's not like sell ourselves short. If the gate is somewhere on Earth that isn't here with all the dampeners that we have in the base, wouldn't it create seismic activity? And General Hammond's like, you bet your fucking ass it would. And so they check seismometer readings. And they figure out that they were like, well, if there's another gate, why didn't they just use the DHD to get back home? And this was my favorite comedy moment of the episode. Daniel looks at Teal'c and goes, well, what happens when you try to dial your own phone number? Sorry, wrong person to ask. And then he turns to General Hammond and goes, what happens when you try to dial your own phone number? and Hammond goes, you get a busy signal. So that explains, that just one phrase explains all of the scientific shit that has gone wrong in this episode. But like Teal'c not being able to answer a question about dialing a cell phone number was like ideal. So Sam is like climbing out and seeing that she's still like, even once you're outside of the cave, there's still absolutely nothing but ice anywhere that you can possibly see. So that's not good.
Yeah, I should put, Sam, where do you even begin? And then she went back and didn't. And I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Good.
So then General Harriman finds the coordinates in Antarctica. That's why Sergeant Harriman had a part of this episode. Then, okay, Sam falls down the ice hole. And I know that this was not supposed to be a comedic scene. But I laughed so fucking hard. And my dad was like, are you okay? I go, did you see that? Like, that was like Alice down the rabbit hole on crack. Like, I don't know what they thought they were having that stunt person do, but it was bad. So then General Hammond arrives to rescue them.
Which I thought was so nice.
And Sam was like, you came through the gate for us. And he goes, not exactly.
Yeah.
And it ends kind of on a cliffhanger. It ends on that last scene of Don S. Davis looking around the ice. That is his picture in the credits. And it's the first time that we have a cliffhanger for the end of the episode. Of course, the episode ends and my mom immediately starts screaming at the TV because she's like, how the fuck did they fly from Colorado to Antarctica that fast?
Fair.
And I was like,
I also wondered that. But, you know, tis what tis.
But yeah. So there is more than one gate on Earth.
Which is fascinating.
And obviously, if the show's intelligent, which like it's pissed us off a little bit so far, but like it's not unintelligent. We're going to have to deal with the fact that there is a frozen serpent guard mummified somewhere on Earth.
And so I just want to make sure I fully understand what is happening. Sorry, I just knocked my straw paper off and it threw me off. I don't know what today is. Um, so you can't travel between two home bases. So like if they go to another like planet and that planet has two, they have to go home before they travel to the other side and they have to know the other side's coordinates, or would they just pass long enough at one and they could end up at a different one the next time?
Well, as of right now, this is the first time we know of any planet having more than one gate.
Right.
So this is throwing a whole new wrench into what we understand. But the 7 chevrons on the gate represent things that have to do with coordinates, and planetary alignment is that because you're traveling through space.
Right.
In a spoiler that doesn't really spoil things, later in the show and in the other series, there's actually an 8th chevron because we travel outside of our galaxy. But because the chevrons are constellatory alignment, you dial a planet.
Okay.
Which means that at any one time, only one gate can really be working on that planet.
Okay.
Which is why it was such a weird malfunction and the electrical impulse. But so now we have to understand what caused, from what I can understand, and this was theoretical, the Goa'uld shooting at the DHD overloaded it, and that's what caused the electrical impulse that split the wormhole.
Gotcha. So like the 2 Stargates, one in Antarctica and one at home, it's like one's your dial-up internet and one's your phone line. If you're on the phone, you can't use the other one.
Right.
And then, but if you get like an error in this one could just kick on because it was already set up to come on.
Yeah.
Excellent. We are back into it.
But obviously we now are going to have to deal with the science of trying to understand how to use both gates and like what we can do and how to work along the same planet.
No one comes into the second one that nobody's watching.
Correct.
That was my first concern.
Well, because of the way that the planet system works, you can't have 2 active gates on the same planet with the current control system.
Right, but
so in order for them to travel between the 2, they'd have to activate something, which would then make it open to travel. And we have all these things that we now have questions about what's going to happen next. Of course, we still don't know where Sharae is. So like,
she's lost to the ether now.
So, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I really liked this episode, despite the fact that not a lot happened, like actively happened. I felt like the characters were a little out of character, but it felt like they were coming more into their actual characters, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, yeah, they felt like they had changed a bit character-wise, but that it was more real.
Okay.
And so I liked that, but it caught me off a bit in the beginning because I felt like Sam was kind of like lacking in character in the very beginning of the episode. By the end, I felt like it was a nice build-up.
Yeah.
So, those were just kind of my thoughts as I went along. I did like it. I think that the fact that we're only 4 episodes from the season finale is a problem based on what we have left for this season to cover. Okay. I'm not sure how they're going to handle it or where they're going to leave us or what's going to happen, but I am not very optimistic currently as to how this season is going to end.
That's fair. Who did you want to punch?
The Goa'uld.
That's, yeah.
I didn't really want to punch any other people.
Yeah, it's hard because it was really just our like our main five were like the only characters in this episode. I think
I feel like they all made good choices, like for what they had to
they
work with.
did. I think just for the moment of calling off the search, I will punch General Hammond.
That's fair.
I mean, he redeemed himself, but like I have no one else to punch.
Absolutely, yes.
Who was your MVP?
I mean, same.
That's yeah.
She worked very hard and only kind of gave up.
I will say Daniel for the same reason then.
Yes. He would have been my second pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're only 4 episodes away from the finale, which confuses me because I definitely thought there was like 23 episodes, but I looked at IMDb yesterday and I was like, oh, there's only 21. Nope, we
haven't at this point. I'm unsure how we got a second season out of it because we have a lot of buildup, but not a lot of going anywhere.
That's true. Really like everything, there's like so many open ends and nothing, right? And no semblance of a closure.
Right. There's plenty of places to go, but you can't just leave everything open forever. And so if they do that, I can't imagine. I don't understand why it was picked up for a second season at this point. Not that it's a bad show.
Right. I mean, it's also hard because we are so uneducated about the television time. Like we were so young. It's hard for us to like even think about because TV has changed so much in the last 25 years that it's like,
I mean, the shows that were coming out then are shows that were about nothing. I mean, we were Seinfeld, who was like either halfway through or had just started. It was around the same time. We have all of our like 90s sitcoms that are about nothing. I mean, so I mean, we have plenty of shows that don't have anything happening, I guess. This one just had so much build up and then kept not giving us answers. And it was kind of a struggle to get through.
I do have some funny trivia, some interesting ones.
Love trivia.
So, okay, well, first of all, the DVD episode order is different.
Does it tell you what episode this was?
This was episode 18 in the DVD order. At the end of the season, I'm going to actually like grab the DVD and read the order that they were in the season because I still don't really understand how they did that. Sure. So this is the first episode that is directed by Martin Wood, but it's also the first episode. The franchise has 4 major directors who do the bulk of all of the episodes. Between the 4 of them, they're responsible for 145 of the 213 episodes of the show and 246 of the 353 episodes across all of the series. And this is the first one of those. So it makes sense that this is the first like really big episode in terms of like where is Stargate going, because it's the first one of the series for those guys. The shot of Donna S. Davis wearing a parka that is shown in the opening credits is from this episode, which I already said that. For Samantha Carter's close-ups in the snowy flat plateau of Antarctica, Amanda Tapping and a second unit filming crew shot her scene at Pemberton Ice Field in the Coast Mountains of British Columbia, but the wide shot of Antarctica was a digital landscape from post-production. So they did do on-unit shooting, but not in Antarctica. The error code when the Stargate malfunctioned at the very beginning of the episode is error code 44, which is an actual Windows program when a peripheral device disconnects from your computer. So like if my phone was connected to my computer and then there was a miscalculation with the connection, that's the error code that would show up.
Oh, I love
that. When Sergeant Seiler says that it will take 24 hours to fix the gate, and Hammond says he doesn't, and Seiler says it doesn't work that way. This is a jab slash humorous reference to the fact that Captain Kirk always makes Scotty fix things on Star Trek in time that it is not going to fix in. And then also this one is my favorite one. There is a blooper on the DVD where Amanda Tapping as Sam breaks the fourth wall and yells at Richard Dean Anderson that he doesn't know how to save them from their predicament because he's fucking MacGyver. Like, how do you not know how to save us? You're MacGyver.
I love that. Oh, that's so funny.
Yes. So yeah, that is, I think the fact that this is the first of the big four directing makes a lot of sense in terms of the type of episode it is and where it's going, because like it said, those four guys did literally like 5/6 of the episode of the show.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. I think this was a good episode. I feel like I would have liked this to be like episode 4 because I feel like
I think that we're gonna find that these last like 5 episodes really build up to what the show was supposed to be the whole time, and that the first half of season 1 is probably the weakest part of the show.
I mean, I know I just said I don't know how they got a second season, but I feel like that's exactly how is that it's gonna be the last one. They're gonna be like really solidify.
Yeah.
What was supposed to go, and they're gonna be like, oh, this is the show. All right, and then they get like I definitely think so too.
Yeah. Well, if you have thoughts about this or bloopers or any idea how they could have MacGyvered their way out of the cave, please email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens, and you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will see you guys for Thriller Thursday. Bye.